So did you write anything down? Did you have any like questions off the bat before we get started, or with the start, I guess?
Um, Not too much. I actually, once I found out that I won, I was super excited, but I was also really nervous because here's the thing, I've got quite a few good friends that really helped me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And when I won, I was like, oh, now I feel like it's kind of going to be a waste because these guys are are strong, they know what they're doing, they've been playing the
Mm-hmm.
game for a long ass time. So I'm like, oh, damn. But they went ahead and encouraged me to go ahead and just still go through with it just because it might just sound different and it might make more sense coming from a completely different person. Because
Mm-hmm.
I am very stubborn with quite a few things in this game. I've been playing for just as long as it's been out, so
Okay.
it, it's just I'm hoping to possibly hear your thoughts on my account and I guess how best you would see it progressing and what you think the right steps would be to take.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, some of it, we have a lot of conventions, right? If we're playing a game of things that we heard, things that other people have told us. Um, People that we respect can sometimes get things wrong, and people that we don't respect can get things right. So I think it's
Absolutely.
good to get information from a lot of different angles, and usually if like everyone kind of like shares the same opinion on something, it's probably pretty close to being right, or as far as we know, right? Information can always come out of this game. A lot of things about this game are pretty untransparent. They're pretty opaque, so kind of could just go by whatever is best practice or whatever seems to work. And then sometimes information comes out a while later, and then we're like, oh, I guess that was the best that we knew back then. Science is wrong sometimes. Maplers are
Hmm.
wrong more often than that. But yeah, I'll do my best. Is there so I guess with that being said, are there certain things where do you feel like you are, I guess, stubborn or perceived as stubborn, or you feel like other people are telling you not to do it, where you would want to help me back up your
Um,
argument or completely destroy it and tell everyone else that they were right and you were wrong after all?
I'm very lazy when it comes to my mobbing.
Uh huh.
If I usually don't kill a boss in less than 10 minutes, I don't want to do it.
Oh, the bossing.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, specifically with bossing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, grinding, I think I've gotten down. It's been, it's actually gotten a lot more fun, surprisingly. Grinding, especially throughout the years, I think the game has made it a lot more fun. But
Mm-hmm.
it would be bossing, yeah. I don't solo bosses past Hard Damien.
Okay.
I should be able to definitely explode Guardian Angel, Lucid, and Will, but it for me it comes down to my lives. I'm also very like loose cannon with my lives in bosses because I'm
Mm-hmm.
not trying to always dodge everything because again, I'm hoping I just burst it in less than 5 minutes or 10 minutes.
Sure. Okay.
So I guess I'm just trying to figure out um is it just me thinking that I just can't do it at this point, or am I just being that lazy? And I know I'm being lazy, but it's I guess I want to hear that it's justified.
Well, I think a lot of it will, and for me, a lot of stuff always comes back down to like what is fun for you, what is enjoyable for you. There's definitely certain things that are going to be expected of you as a player if you've been playing for a certain while. There's things that are going to be expected of you if you have a certain amount of damage, but every person is still their own individual. Like I think I always take the example of my mom. Like she's got two characters over level 280, but I wouldn't really expect of her most of the things that you would expect of someone who's level 282, especially not in
Yeah.
terms of bossing, because that just wouldn't make any sense. That's just, like she would just die out, and like by the time she gets to P2 hard will, even though mathematically her damage shouldn't even be remotely a question, right? So there's definitely bosses that get harder, and I would say like Slime, Lucid, and Will are like the bosses where you can't just roll your face on your keyboard and you will just kill it anyway. The amount of damage you need for that is a lot. Um, and you will have to start paying a little bit more attention, Or what you can also do, of course, if you never want to run alone, because either that's just boring. There's two things that could be at play, right? There's like the thing where you like, I don't want to solo it, so I'm just going to do it with a party. Or there's the, I don't feel confident in soloing it, and if I push myself, it'll be too confrontational about how bad I am at it, so I'll just run it with a party anyway, and I'll be okay with getting fewer drops. The main reason why the game and why other people would expect you to solo is not necessarily because you're like a shitter if you don't, but the general duration of the pitch waiting room is just so eternal that if you don't, it's just going to last even longer. Unless you can secure, you know, like, oh, I'm the top damage, I can secure like pitch drop, and everyone else is just joining, and they might be blue dotting, and they know they're just there for boxes and stuff and for ring boxes, and then you know you have priority. You can probably swing that, right? These days there's a lot of people who just try to get boxes as early as possible, and it'll be a pretty fast run. You won't have the chance to die out really. You don't need an insane amount of damage to be able to just blue dot. So that might be a good trade-off where you can kind of find the match between the two for yourself. But eventually people will, you know, if you're exchanging with someone, then the idea behind that as well, that you keep getting the same amount of money per week at least, right, with the crystals. If you do the duo runs, you're cutting into your meso per week quite a bit, especially if it's like all those monsters all those bosses you mentioned, right? Because then you're probably looking at like at least like 2 or 3, probably, yeah, might be like 3 bill or so a week that you're losing on that. So you'd have to compensate that with probably with like 2 whole boss meals, and then that will take time, right? And that'll take money and that'll take investment to compensate for that. Plus, if you don't secure priority loot for the pitch, put the pitch drops, then you also have to, because this is like a game of time, right? Long-term time. And the reason we get drop rate and the reason we have like dailies and weeklies and stuff like that is it takes a certain amount of time to get something, but you can accelerate your progress by getting drop rate, by killing the boss more often, by killing the boss in a smaller party. And the game is kind of focused around already interactive, and with heroic we're already, you know, we have the increased drop rate for boss drops, but we are in a situation where it'll take a while. And if something takes other people already like a year, and you are getting to the point where you're sharing your drops with 2 or with 3 people, now that becomes 2 years or 3 years. And that will get to a point where you're like, what's even the purpose of running these bosses at all? Like once you have 22 arcanes, I don't know if you're already at that point. And maybe you have your rings, and it's like the only thing is like a 1 in a million chance of getting a pitch drop. Maybe it'd be even better to even not run these bosses at all, you know? It's going to feel difficult to see like the progress going. But if you're soloing at least, and you're soloing a lot of bosses that can drop something, at least you should get a drop every now and then feel like at least something is going on, you know? So I don't know if any of those things give you some pause or some food for thought, because there is definitely the thing where, like, you've done the bosses for quite a while, right? So but you say like you play like Luster with your lives. Is that something that you just feel you can't improve upon, or you just don't want to improve upon? You're okay with the sacrifice of sharing the drops, or, you know, would you feel bad? Yeah.
I usually am fine with sharing the loot. As long as it makes the run easier on me and it makes it quicker, then that's actually something that I don't mind. For Lucid and Will, I usually run with I know I can run it 2-man, I've done it, but I usually run it 3-man because the one person that I bring is maybe level 255, and they have maybe 6k Legion, so I just want somebody else there just to help make it go quicker. But end all be all, as long as they do the tests right and everything runs good, then I'm fine with it being a 6-7 minute run, and splitting it 2 or 3 ways, rather than me taking almost 15-20 minutes to run the boss by myself.
Yeah, I think it's perfectly fine to not want boss runs, you know, except for like the really, really peak ones that you're doing, to be longer than like 15 minutes each. I think that's about the max that most people will want to do in one singular boss fight, just because also, you know, so much more can go wrong in a longer boss fight, and then having to rerun maybe sometimes is just not desirable, right? So I don't think that's crazy. But if you're more on like the up to maximum 10-minute, then yeah, for a lot of it, you're gonna have to find like a party member. Do you do the same thing for like C10A and stuff? Do you like duo that, or do you run it with a bigger group?
With C10E, I just run it 6-man every time. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. I just want boxes. If I win a blink, then I win the blink, and I pray that something drops. But I mean, so far I think I've been pretty lucky with my pitched. It's just, yeah, I kind of feel like I don't. I know I should be trying harder for pitched, but as soon as I get the items, like most of the items that I've gotten that are pitched, I'm not gonna 22 them. I've only gotten 122 pitched, and it's the Damien face accessory. So I'm not in a rush. I'm not in a rush. Most of my stuff is still sitting at like 19, or all of my CRAs sitting, or sorry, no, my CRAs are sitting at 17. If I can't like perfect something first, it bothers me. I still don't even have my full drop gear, which is very sad. That's my priority at the moment. I've been just farming so I can fix my drop gear.
Okay. Well, we might circle back to like the bossing stuff then, but I guess let's take a step back and kind of look at like what do you do in terms of like dailies and weeklies, and like what kind of, because if you get to 280, there's definitely some things going a little bit out of pace. If I'm thinking like 17 CRA but no drop gear yet, but you are trying to get like pitches and you're at 280, like were you really just like a grind monster, or what happened?
Sorry, I've got 17 arcanes, but I did 22 my CRA.
Oh, arcanes. Okay, yeah, I'm a CRA and arcanes up for some reason as well. No worries. Okay, but yeah, I guess to that extent, like, are you mostly someone who plays like a little bit every day, or do you have like spurts of playing? What's kind of like your profile?
I try to play it. I try to play every day. At most, I maybe put in 3-4 hours, like that's in most days. I try to put in at least 3 or 4 hours. Usually, it only comes down to maybe 2 hours. So yeah, I try to get my dailies done. Weeklies at this point, I haven't touched arcane weeklies, even though I should be running them on my boss mules. But yeah, no. I usually also try to do my bosses the day of, but I was busy yesterday, so they're all just sitting there.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's still today, right? Or am I missing on the calendar?
Oh yeah, no, you're right.
It's still Thursday, right? It still counts. It still counts as today. Okay, no worries. But okay, and like how many? Can you show the Legion? Maybe like how many boss mules are you working with? Like what kind of bosses are you doing there?
So with my Buccaneer, I do up to normal Lomian.
Okay.
That's it. I don't push it. I don't try to. I could try to, but I'm happy with it the way that he is.
The 24.
It's a very easy class.
Yeah, is it the point where you could maybe normal slime, but it'd be a decently long run, so not necessarily worth the money. Yeah. Probably worth more to like scale up on the amount of characters you're doing bosses on, because you could do like 4-door on like a 220 at a time that you could do just slime there and make more money probably.
Exactly, which is what I was making this Nightwalker for, but he's maybe like 2 million CP. He's got nothing on him. I'm still getting his CRA up to 17. But this has been my newest boss mule, my Wild Hunter. The reason I chose it was just because he still has what is it called? Ghost Ship Exorcist badge.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I've got that, and only him and my Night Lord have it. So I was like, oh well, that might be a nice little power boost.
It helps.
One of my friends said, oh yeah, you might as well just do that one since you've got the badge. So I've been trying to get this up, but it's taken me a little bit.
Is that
this
the
Nightwalker? Yes, this is my Hyperburn, the Wild Hunter.
Okay.
The Nightwalker, I just popped a bunch of potions on him, so that's why he's 250.
We're getting a lot of nodes and EXP nodes now from all the events, so it should help build out their matrices as well, right?
he is fully maxed. He's just about fully maxed, and he's missing maybe I think 2 skill nodes. I think they're like level 15 and
Mm-hmm.
17, and then one last trio. It's at like 19 or something, so it's very close as
Okay.
well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's already really
I've
high.
nodes I've got down for most of them.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Good, good. Yeah, but I just always, yeah. I mean, I would go more evenly typically in like all of the amount of resources, but you'd have to look at, how long has your account been around and what kind of resources do you have access to, and then just would give whatever you have the most left over of, right? And that's just what you want to dump into the boss meals to get them,
Yep.
get them up if it's not going to have much more value on other characters anyway.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So, but like in terms of like where your hours are spent, is still most of it spent grinding on the Night Lord?
Yes.
Yeah, because it's not a lot of bossing, and then when you are doing bossing, you're kind of trying to just blow them up, so you don't spend. You probably spend almost more time setting up the boss parties than being in the actual runs, kind of thing.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
And like stat wise on the Night Lord, what are we looking at?
We are looking at. I think it was like 55K. Yeah, 55K if I swap everything around.
Yeah. Did you do the presets build already?
Uh, no, and I think the reason why I haven't is because a lot of my shit is just all over the place, and I also have not
Do you
finished
want to do
my
that now? Do you want
okay.
you want maybe to look at that with me, see if we can figure that out? If it's something that
Sure.
don't like doing, maybe we can get something done.
F9.
Yeah, put that one pretty far away because you're only doing it in safe situations anyway, right?
Yeah, sure.
So we can check what your default. Well, what I started with. So if you press like what is it, escape, left, left, up, up, then you can see the see the presets there.
Escape, left, left, up, up.
Yeah,
Oh. Oh, dip.
there they are. And if you take the cogwheel on the wheel on the right, you can name them. So since you have 5, what I did was one for mobbing, one for solo bossing, then one for solo when you open the box, and then one for party bossing, and then for party when you open a box. With the idea that solo bossing would be just low-level bosses or like Culvert, so you're more focused on purely on DPS, and that the party one is more focused on survivability. The basically the what's it called? The now I'm blanking on the name, but like the resistance link skill, right, with extra iframe when
Gotcha,
you're
yeah.
respawning. Basically that
Mhm.
setup. Um,
Okay.
and the idea behind having like a mobbing, a bossing solo and bossing a solo box, is so that when you switch, it doesn't switch all your link skills over because your link skills on when you want to have drop rate
Yep,
is going
I
to
see.
always be completely different, right? And then you're gonna have to pay every time. In Korea now they have an extra option where you can also choose no change, so that'll make setting up the presets easier. So yeah, and then I have party. So I have a party bossing one and also party box one. So that if you're doing a lot of party bosses in a row, you can also switch with those same link skills. Because like I said, you'd have more survivability link skills versus more like solo damaging link skills. So you'd be switching between those two. And if you check now, if you hold down the switch key that you just put on your keyboard, you'll see like the names. Yeah, so you see like the names there pop up, so you know which ones you're switching for which one, basically.
Okay.
And every time you switch, it'll also tell you the cost of switching, so that if you know you're switching between, between boxes when you're bossing or between boxes when you're soloing or partying, it should never cost anything, because the only thing that could cost money that you're switching is your hyperstats, and those won't switch. Or would be the links, yeah, and those shouldn't switch either. So if it costs anything, that means you like fat fingered and press the wrong button, and then you just press escape and you just do it again, basically.
Okay.
Okay, so the first one is equipment, so we can check which setups you have set up there. Did you figure out like the? If you click that, it'll just open up the equipment window, so you go straight to it. Did you kind of figure out how that all works? Because it's a little bit counterintuitive, right? Because you have like your base setup.
Figured it out. Yeah.
I
figured
needed to
it
fuck
out.
around with it a little bit as well myself before I got to the bottom of it.
It's very annoying, especially when you don't have full drop gear yet. That's kind of why I've been trying to fix it.
Gotcha. Yeah, it does help with getting a lot of things away from your inventory, but then checking their stats, you have to switch your preset every time. So what did you manage to do here for equipment preset? You got your base.
First one is drop gear.
Which is so is that
second
more
one-
drop? So when you
More
talk about drop
less
gear,
meso.
yeah,
It's
okay.
all my drop, and then whatever fills in the blanks, meso.
Okay, yeah. So is that so the goal? But the goal for this set is to become like a 9-0 or a 10-0. Yeah. So with this one, so to become a 10-0 drop set, right? So you have 200%. So this would be like the box set, basically, right?
Yes. It would
Yeah.
be.
Okay. So we'd want to have one on solo box and party box, and then so that's already set because standard is just everything set to 1, so that's fine. But for the first 3
okay, I
tabs,
see.
we would want to change those presets. So on second one now, I think you have damage, right? Because
Yes.
you switched to that one. So you're switching like in the roar, and then all the damaging rings, and you want to double check that everything that has a 1 is the hybrid stuff that we want on both of those. You have a different secondary here. I don't know if you have. Sometimes people have a secondary, like an old one that has like a damage % line on it or something.
I've got that, and I've got this, but I've had these for
Yeah, no,
many
you go
years.
straight for the attack, yeah. And the other one on the top right of this, is this the
It's
leftover one?
nothing.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. That's fine. And you have a different metal on here. Yeah, because you can have sometimes metals that give you a little bit more damage when you're mobbing, right? Yeah, metal, yeah. If you have like the... Which one do you have on the first set? This is like pretty min-maxy,
The
but
same one.
you have like the...
Oh no, I don't.
No, you have the event
Oh,
one, yeah.
I have this
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, that's fine,
Oopsie.
because you want...
Okay.
Ideally, you want
Yeah.
this one when mobbing and the other one when bossing, right? So you were actually already min-maxed that. You didn't even remember that you min-maxed that.
Cool.
So the things that don't switch when you switch here is title. So that's the thing to remember to do manually every time you switch presets, and familiars, basically.
Okay.
Those are the 2 things that, you know, it's a lot better than doing everything, but you do want to remember to switch those 2. Although now we have a really good event title that's good in mobbing and bossing, so you won't have to remember that. But if you have like the best in slot title, you know, like the Bing Bean or whatever, and there is right now a title in the Pyramid event that gives 10% normal monster damage. So if you ever get that one, you might want to switch that one if you're switching up. Yeah. So yeah, they might be in here. Oh yeah, you have this one. The one below it, the blue one. The more human than human. Yeah, that one has 5% normal monster damage, so I use that one when I'm mobbing. I don't know if that's going to be like a big difference maker or anything, but just so that stay aware that that one exists. It might be, yeah, if you're ever switching, I'll put it in the general inventory and not inside the holder, because otherwise it's like easier to lose track of. So that, you know, you remember to switch. Of course, you don't have to switch, but yeah, just to put that out there. All the other gear looks like that's the damaged gear. CRA set the same. Arcane set the same. Yep. And then the third set is more balance of drop and meso, I'm guessing. Yeah, and then
Just
the EXP
as much
pendants.
meso as I could.
Yeah. So you have up to 5-line meso?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. And then as much drop rate as you can with that. Oh, you got a split one there. Yeah. I guess with that, just to refresh it for me, so you have 2 double line items, the Petmark and the Stella, and everything. Oh, and this one as well. Okay, so 2 double drop ones, and then 1 drop meso. Okay, that's pretty solid setup. Okay, that'll make it really easy for you. So one thing you can do, I'm not saying you're gonna do this, but one thing you can do is, if you have double drop rate, is to leave out one of your rings with drop rate and equip in your damage setup for solo, or your damage setup, and in your drop box setup, a continuous ring. So open it up to equip that one in your basically in your first preset, and then because then if you're doing like the weaker level bosses, right, and you're switching, it'll keep the ring on in the same slot, and you won't have to constantly reset the continuous, but it'll give you more damage than if you have like a regular an event ring, or even like a regular Star Force ring most of the time, if you ever get one of those.
You lost me there.
Do you have a continuous ring?
Yes, I do.
So if you have gone 4, yeah. So if you're doing just solo bosses, what a lot of people like to do, what you could do, if you want, so you want 10 slots of drop, right? That's the max for drop rate from equips. You have 9
Yes.
slots, so if you have 1 double line, you're done. But you have 2 double line. So what you can do is equip 8 equips in total with drop, 2 of those being double line, and that'll give you your 10 lines. So that'll leave 1 accessory available that doesn't have to switch. So what you could do is have that be a ring, and then what it will allow you to do is equip the continuous ring in your first preset in that slot. So you wear continuous ring and then 8 accessories with drop rate, and then have that ring also just not be covered up by something in your second preset while you're just doing solo bosses. That way, when you're constantly switching between solo bossing and solo box, the ring will stay on and it doesn't have to do that 2-minute recharge every time, and it can speed up the lower level bosses that you're doing.
Okay.
That's something you can do. I guess as a Night Lord, it might not be the most important thing for you to do because you probably just want that roar to be able to blow up the bosses. But if you're doing lower level bosses, that's something that you can keep on, or something that you can use for other characters in the future. Maybe if another character gets to that point, maybe on the Buck or something. Buck is a little bit more DPM heavy with the Lord of the Deep. If you're doing the lower level bosses, that's more like an advanced thing. But you want to think about the same way with the switching, kind of like with the spirit ring, right? The spirit pendant.
Yeah.
In the same way, sorry, not the ring, the pendant. Because then you're also thinking about like, oh, if I have over lines, if I have more hybrids or double lines, that means that I can create 1 extra space for myself, and then that you want to center that around the pendant. So it's like a similar principle to keep your utility high, essentially. But yeah, maybe for a Night Lord, it's not as important. But other classes, mostly. Okay, so now we can go back to the presets, and we can at least set equips properly on all of them. So it's like on the bottom, it's under the little character dude. So bossing here, we put 2, and then on the bottom you have to click save every time you do a change. That's the apply one, so that'll switch your preset. Just click, but if you click apply, it'll also save. But as long as save or cancel are highlighted, that means that you did some change, and then you want to click change and go. So now go to the next tab. For mobbing, we want preset 3, right?
Yep.
And then remember to save. You have to save it every time. But once it's set up that's the idea. Then it's set up, and then you can move on. And then solo boss, that would be preset 2. And then solo box and party box, that'll be preset 1. So we want to be able to have the most drop rate there. So make sure that when you open the box and then you debuff it, boom, slam it, and hopefully have like 1,000,000% drop rate or a little bit less than that. And that's that. Okay, next one is hyperstats. We could check your setup for that. You got a
Bossing,
13, 10, 13, 13.
mobbing.
Yeah.
And then this, I don't know what this was.
Black Mage bonus damage setup, probably.
Yes, it was. Yep.
Right now, you have a lot of extra arcane power in the title, even. So you will also get bonus damage now straight up from this. Even if you don't have any points in the passive event buff. Okay, so bossing is 1, mobbing is 2. So that's pretty straightforward. Bossing 1, mobbing 2. Yep. So all you have to really switch in the preset now is just to have mobbing hyperstat 2. And all the other ones are fine. All the other ones we save, so that whenever you switch, it won't cost you the 2 mil every time to switch. So that's straightforward. Okay, and then we have inner ability. You can see where those are at. So you
Bossing,
got a bust
drop, or bossing meso drop.
Okay, so for the box, we'll want number 3, and for mobbing, we'll want 2.
Mobbing, we'll want 2.
Mobbing 2, yep.
Bossing 1.
Yeah, that's these reset 1. So we'll just need to switch the box ones. Yeah, those are the box 1. Go to 3. Yeah, with the save every time. it's a bit annoying, but we'll get it done. Okay. Cool. I see you're pretty low on honor EXP. What's your current like strategy that you're doing there? Are you just rolling whatever you get? Or?
I've been
'Cause it
very
looks like a
impatient.
doom roll. Yeah.
I'm hoping that I could just get like buff duration or attack here. I don't know what I'm really going for.
I say if you doom roll every time you have something, the chance of you actually getting that just goes down. So I would advise you just always save up and only roll during 50% offs. And during 50% offs, if you want to zero out there, then you're well within your right to 100% do that. But the longer you don't do that, it's that thing of like something that might take like a month or two, but if you don't do that, it might take like a year. Because it's just you're basically doubling your points every time if you just use it on the 50% off event. There are big events now where you can have like event shops so you can buy a lot of honor. So usually if you get towards the end of a cycle, I would definitely look at event shops and see if you can buy a lot of honor for your character. Because now you have 3 inner abilities, so you're not just trying to get like a really good line on the bossing one or something useful on the 3rd line of your bossing one, but you're also trying to see, maybe like your drop rate one, your number 3, that's pretty much where it is, right? But your number 2, maybe you want to see if you can get like, the drop rate one to be, but this will be like a later project because you probably want to do that with circulators first to see if you can hit a 15% drop rate unique line. And if you hit that, lock that in, roll for the mezzo again on top, and then maybe roll for like damage to normal monsters or something on the 3rd line, something like that, if you want to min-max that. But that'd be something for like much further down the line. So in order for that project to ever be able to happen, you first want to roll something nice on the bossing one, and in order for that to happen, you need to have the patience, and I would say use the 50% offs. Again, if you don't want to, by all means, go ham, but you're just prolonging how long it's going to take on average for you to get that. And then it's gonna be one of those things where you spend 5 minutes on it every day, or you can wait like once every 3 months, spend like 15 minutes on it. It'll be less time spent, and it'll be more efficient across the board, essentially.
Gotcha.
Okay. Well, because I just figured if we're going through the presets, I'm also kind of like seeing everything while we're doing this. So this is like a good process for me as well, because now I've seen your hyperstats, I've seen your equipment kind of, right? And your equipment presets, see your inner-ability preset, and I can kind of like pick your brain on what your strategy is for all of those things. So we can also make sure that nothing is like completely out of play. So trying to do it that way, differently than having all the pictures. So this is working out for me at least. Legion we already saw, but I don't remember exactly which Legion was where.
One is bossing, 2 is... Nope, I lied. Opposite. 1 is mobbing.
One is mobbing.
Bossing.
Yeah, 2 is bossing. And do you have that's just the straight up builds that you have? Do you have... So there is... In the beginning when you're building up your Legion, right, you just put in whatever the hell you have. Then you kind of switch to just putting in the biggest blocks that you have. And then the 3rd step after that is having like a strict priority when you have a big Legion like this. If you prioritized it. Yeah, if you want them in max, is like number 1 is the biggest blocks, right? Well, number 1 technically would be like the best stats for you, but you run out at like number 10, so it is kind of like a pro forma priority. And then number 2 is the biggest blocks, and then number 3 would be like whatever characters have the best stats for your character and leftover. And then number 4 would be whatever has the highest Legion rate power, technically, so that you can still maintain higher Legion rate power and maintain higher passive coin income, because even if you have 10,000 saved up, you can spend those really quickly if you want to, and it's always good to have a buffer of those. So what I have now is like I have one setup that just has all the characters with all of the highest scores, no discrimination, and that's the one I swap to when I like AFK when I log off at the end of the day, just to have a little bit more Legion rate power, just to have more passive coin income. If you have the space for it, you could do that, where you just start from the top. You just pick like how many characters is it at this point? I forget the number. Is it like 34?
37.
37, yeah, 37. And you just slam. Oh yeah, it's right there. You put like just the 37 with like the highest score in there, and that's the one IFK to. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. I would say do that and just see how big the number difference is, and if it's really close, then just you can not bother with it. But if it is, if it is like 450 mil or it's like closer to 500 mil or something, that could be something to do. But it's yeah. So I don't know when you last like double checked, and you still have even though you have a lot of Legion levels, there's a lot of characters individually that aren't like super built out. You don't have like 15 level 250s, so those decisions for you are a lot easier to make. But you are getting a little bit to the point where you have some overflow here and there, and a little bit of a, well, let's say yuckiness in terms of the build now, right? Because you've got like
Yeah.
1-2 doubles, a little bit into attack. You've got luck. You've got overflow there. 1 into dex. You've got 1 in buff duration. So there could be a little bit of cleaning up. But as long as your critical rate build is fine for all the characters you're playing, then I don't think there's anything. Because I tend to go into my leftover tends to go into stat and then into critical rate for my mobbing one. Just because if you use that one for side characters, other characters don't necessarily have all of their crit rate built out properly yet with like hyper skills and all that. So that makes sure that they all have 100% crit whenever I switch there. And then for the bossing one, I tend to go into buff duration for the extra duration of terms and conditions, which is you're doing as well. Okay, good. Yeah, so I could tell that you prioritize having the bossing one cleaned up a bit more than the mobbing one, which is probably a good priority to have because you're probably just one-shotting everything anyway. So where it is exactly over here, I bet it doesn't matter nearly as much. So that is a good priority to have. Just double checking,
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're just using these. So one thing that you do have the space for is if you start playing any characters that prioritize buff duration over other stats. So I'm talking about like Archmages, you're looking at like Luminous, you're looking at Kaisers, you're looking at those kind of characters. Then you could make an extra preset for that, right, where you prioritize buff duration into enough critical rate, into critical damage, into IED, into boss damage kind of thing. But
I don't
for
really
mobbing,
play any of the mages. Or
yeah,
Kaiser.
I didn't for a long time either. I didn't for a long time, but then eventually buff duration just became a good preset to have. But then you also want to look at the priority for the characters. So then you're going to prioritize way more of the int characters over the warrior characters, if that synchronizes. But then if you want to build for a Kaiser, then you still want to build the strength characters, but then prioritize them into different blocks, right? So you'll just have to. You have plenty of space though, so you have the liberty. If you want to min-max everything, in terms of which characters you have, technically you would need way more presets because you'd want like a warrior buff duration bossing, a warrior buff duration mobbing, a mage buff duration bossing, a mage buff duration, right? And then you add like all the other ones, and you kind of want like 12 presets. But I guess you don't have that problem. You got one character go, and everything kind of fits that one close enough. So
Yeah.
that's a good situation to be in. What about your Legion artifact, by the way? Now that we're here, anyway, did you have any questions on that, or is that going? That's going. Okay.
I've just been doing it. I was very stupid, and I went ahead and I made one for bossing, one for mobbing. But then I saw one of my friends do one for bossing, one for damage, one for mobbing. So that's kind of what I'm doing at the moment.
Yeah, and you can. So technically, with all the artifact points you have, if you go and train, you could flip them over and make sure that your drop rate, your mesoobtain, your EXP are higher, right? Instead of your boss damage and your IED. And then when you go bossing, you could switch them over again. I think that's a huge pain. I mean, granted that we save a lot of time with the character presets, to just go back into that save time just to optimize this just doesn't feel good.
No.
But if you wanted to min-max, you could switch them over based on the situation, because you see artifact points, you have way enough, right? There's like 500 to flip one over, so for like 2k you could switch them, and 2k you could switch them back. It's definitely something that's affordable. And in terms of like the artifact levels and the missions and everything, have you been doing any of that, or are you just kind of like slowly coasting forward with the dailies?
Coasting forward with the dailies. I haven't tried to do any of the special missions. I've looked at them. I've taken a look at them, and they're cool. I just don't want to do all these goddamn mini quests.
Yeah, no, it's a lot.
So
I was lucky that there were a bunch of other quests in the past that required us to do some of those, so I was already like really far into getting all of it done. So I was immediately like level 37 when the content came out, so that helped me get those extra levels.
I also remember doing quite a few of these, but I guess it didn't register. Like, I remember doing Friend Story because that was the only way that you were able to get back to Henny really easily. Like, and then the complete the Heroes of Maple Act, I thought I did that, but I guess not. That's
Maybe just
alright.
the last chapter one to unlock Damien. A lot of people don't do the first like 3 chapters because you don't have to do them.
Okay, gotcha.
And if you only did the last one to unlock Damien, right, you only needed to do that. But for Black Heaven, you needed to do all of it because they would unlock one at a time. So most people have all of those unlocked. Yeah, some things are like kind of, you can kind of double dip on some. Like there'll be some areas where you can get an exploration, and then maybe they're on a character that has the job quest for the character as well, and that also has monsters there that count for the monster collection, which also gets you the monster collection medal for that area. So you can kind of like quadruple dip if you're lucky. But yeah, a lot of these, if you haven't done anything, what you can do is you can check your monster collection, see if you're close to any of them, right? Because maybe there's some areas where you only need to do like 1 or 2. And then that could be really close. If you check the medal tab here in the middle, you can see how close you are to some of these. Yeah, the 100.
Not close.
It's like, no, none of them are really close. Some of these look easy, but they're a lot harder than they are. The grandest one is kind of close. 6 off, yeah. But I think the grandest one is also kind of tough. I think you have to have... You can check the grandest tab in the collections and see, but I think you have to have quite a lot of it done there.
Oh, wow.
This one is pretty doable because a lot of these are like starting area monsters that are really low level, and they have a cap on how long it takes to unlock them, of 100 monster kills at the most. But what you have to do for some of these is remake a character and go through the prequest again. And the prequest areas, basically, until you get them, and then like delete the character and start over. But like here, like that second line and maybe the first line as well, I think is all available to Adele, and you could just go there now and just like grab them. That third row, all of it is available. The last one is only a Ho-Young prequest, but you could do this one pretty quickly. You could knock that out in like 15 minutes probably.
Okay.
Because these all have a max. So if you give yourself the Explorer Archer, right, increase the rate even a little bit, the Link skill.
Yep.
But as soon as monsters go like level 70 or something or above, it can take forever. But if they're under level 30, there's a max of 100 kills before they count. So because of that, they're very, very quick to add all of them. And yeah, the chairs are always super hard because you need the whole screen. And typically there's like 2 or 3 rows that are super easy, and then there's 2 super hard ones. This is one of the more doable ones. Because this is like, this top 2 pages, the top 3 is all Lara, and then the bottom 2 is all Kane. But it's all starting area. But the top row is only starting Lara. So you have to do that like on a new character. If you don't add them, you have to like forfeit the quest, restart the quest. It's a little bit of a hassle. But there's a good guide on this online if you ever want to get into it. If you check out Monster Exploration on Dexless.com, they have a really good guide on like where you can pick all of these little guys up. So if you ever want to work on this. And I'm saying it because Monster Exploration, like the individual medals give you points, but also reaching 2, 4, 6, 8, 1K, 1.2K also gives you a bunch of extra points. And you're kind of close to 400, so that would go double there. And I mean, they also give you more exploration, but extra exploration is not as valuable in Monster Collection these days. It'll just give you a lot of reward points, and that's basically it.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually chasing like these guys down, like the level 260 and 270 monsters, that stuff just takes forever. You'll have the bosses, if you start running these bosses, you'll have these bosses way before the monsters.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Especially if you're practicing, right? Because every time you kill a monster, it can count. So if you do a lot of practice runs, you'll just get them through there. But it's usually a combination. Whenever you see something that's like 3 stars, those are typically like... That means that set is impossible, because that's usually like an elite. So you have to get an elite monster, and with a specific prefix as well. So those are... Yeah, like this one, Magic Resistance, MapleStory, that's just probably just never going to happen. So the whole set, you can kind of like write off that you're not going to get that row. They'll just take... What you have to do is like CC around, look for darkness runes, right? Pop those, and then kill 3 and hope that one had the right prefix and then gets added. And if it doesn't, you have a 15-minute cooldown. You go do other things. Oh yeah, but this is a little bit... I know this is like a little bit sidetracked, but this is like connected to the points as well. So I know. I have the thing, because to dial it back to what we were talking about in the beginning, like having fun. Like, if it's not fun for you to like sit in a boss fight forever and like pain yourself with getting better at it and just over and over dying, and you just want to get the bosses done, that's cool, you know? And then just focus on what you like doing. If you like grinding, if you just like that, do that. What I like is this kind of thing, which doesn't really impact the game that much, but I like keeping control basically over how I spend my time by doing more like this kind of stuff, like familiar cards, monster collection, achievements, things that don't really help in the game all that much, but I like getting those done just so I can feel like I'm doing what's fun for me and not necessarily what is most efficient or what the game tells me to do, you know, what I should be doing. Yeah.
I've gone ahead and I've tried to do as many of the quests that I had here, even like the low level ones. I've gone ahead and I've tried figuring it out as much as I can.
Yeah, this is
I
all okay.
Them.
You've done a lot. Well, you can click my level range. That gets rid of most of them.
Yeah, no, I know, but like it just always bothered me. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and clean it up.
Yeah.
And I went ahead and I did so many quests for a while, and I got
that's a lot of work. If at 280 this is all you have in here, because I did that as well for my first character, but that was a long time ago. So they've added a lot since then. So I have way more in there than you have here. This is actually pretty impressive. I don't know if anyone has ever clicked on this tab and scroll down on their character to see how many quests are in there. This is very impressive that it's just one screen and you can still see the top. Most people could probably scroll down like 3 whole screens, even if you're like level 260. So this is quite impressive.
I just didn't like seeing it, so I was like, you know what? Let's make it a thing. Let's clean it up.
Yeah, no, that is pretty cool.
And I found that entertaining.
That's
so
cool.
I can see how I can do this monster collection, and it could be fun.
Yeah, there might be some overlaps, because what I like to do is achievements, and then the achievements overlap with if you have the guide, where you have all the stamps. So a lot of the guide stamps also overlap with achievements, and a lot of those overlap with the Legion artifact as well. So you kind of get a little bit of all those things. If you're interested in it, you can also check !artifact, because I've got like a little thing there that you can use, where it also more directly shows you like all the things you need to do to get all the points. So you can kind of check out like, is it even worth your time? Is it even something that you might want to do? Yeah, just to have it all in one place. That's kind of what I used when it was about to come out, so that I could see like what am I close to, and because sometimes you're close to something like monster collection, you can I have 48 out of 50, I just need 2 more, and then you need like 2 elites in some godforsaken aqua map, like you need the freezer cold shark. It's like, yeah, never mind, dude, like that's never gonna. So then it's something just that you can like, if I want to torture myself, I'll go for this, or you just completely ignore that and you go for something else that seems harder, but maybe actually is way better. But we got a little bit off track. We were looking at your Legion preset in the character preset. So we had mobbing on 1, right? And bossing on 2?
Yes.
Yeah, so we need to double check that you have that in the presets set up as well. It's unfortunate. Now you have to switch all of these. For the hyperstat, you were lucky that you had bossing on 1, because then you only had to change 1, but now you have to do the opposite. Now you have to change all the other ones.
Yeah. Well, what? Do I?
Yeah, mobbing on 1. Yeah, and then solo boss, solo box.
Gotcha,
I guess
gotcha.
solo box and solo and party box, you could let it sit to 1 as well. And not switch it, right? Because it doesn't cost you money anyway when you're switching. Plus, you're only opening a box, so you could leave those at 1 for solo box and party box. Okay. Because whenever you change everything back, it's gonna change it back to you're gonna have on bossing or on solo boss. You're gonna switch back to 2 anyway, so you can leave those. Yeah. And then we have link skills. Do you have that division in link skills, like a mobbing and then a solo bossing and a party bossing?
No, I've got, this is my bossing, this is mobbing, and then this one was just so I can survive.
Yeah, this one is more survivability. Would you say you still use this one sometimes?
I almost never use this, but I have been trying to actually do. I haven't done Black Mage. I haven't successfully finished Black Mage.
Okay.
So this is what I'm gonna be using for my Black Mage runs.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. So what you Well, that kind of means that you're basically just always going to be using your regular bossing setup, right?
Yeah.
And if you're using that one, yeah, so your preset 1, if you're using this one, do you find like you use, because this preset seems pretty good, but you have Spirit of Freedom here. Do you feel like you rely on Spirit of Freedom quite a bit? Or is that one kind of just in there because it was
Yes.
at some point?
I do like to have it. Dark Nell is a tough
Mm-hmm.
guy, and
Mm-hmm.
when I die, I usually die again in the next like 15 seconds if I don't have this. So
Okay.
it helps a lot.
Well, the only reason I'm asking is because if that's the case, then maybe for those bosses you want to switch to like the more survivability setup that you have number 3 on.
Fair.
Because that could free up one extra link skill slot here with some extra damage that you could use for things like
For
Culvert
solo
or like,
bossing.
yeah, or solo bossing, yeah. To have a more
Okay.
like clean line dividing those two setups, yeah.
I see.
But you still
I
have the
actually would be
totem?
down for that.
You still have the totem in your You
I
kept
don't want
that.
to touch it.
Yeah, no,
I
no,
just it's
don't.
gonna stay there.
That's like,
I thought
wait,
it
is
was
that the
funny when it was
wild?
still there.
That's the wild totem, right?
Yeah,
Because the
yeah,
Fury
it's the
totem was
wild
like with
totem.
the red, yeah. I had like the little
Yep.
clock. It's never disappearing.
Nope.
Yeah, that's a
I just wish
nostalgia
I could. I
legacy.
wish I could smega that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's no. Yeah, you're gonna have to take a screenshot and smeg it a screenshot. The impact gone
Oh yeah.
immediately. If you were to, if you could just remove the Spirit of Freedom here, would not necessarily have to save it. But if you were to remove that one here, you can see what your options are if you were to add something. For specifically for bossing and for like culvert min maxing, bravado would be IED. That's not very useful. Cygnus Blessing. I don't hate Cygnus Blessing personally, because it does give you extra abnormal status resistance, so a little bit less duration on stuns. So that's something to consider. But you're a Night Lord with Dark Side, so you don't get hit by things dropping on you and stunning you. Hybrid Logic is one to consider as well. Innate Gift gives percentage damage and some healing. Is that one in your 3 preset?
This is on my 1 preset. My 3 preset. Is it in here? No, I don't think so.
We don't have it here. Because Night's
That would be
Watch,
nice.
yeah, Night's Watch is one that could give you more survivability, but like activating it for more status resistance. Do you actively use this? Because I find it hard to.
I'm finally using like Will of Urda and Cleanse. Like I'm finally learning how to use these buttons. I actually would like to not have this in here.
Yeah, I would switch this one out with an 8 gift then and save that. That'd be like a cleaner, and it gives you some damage, and it also gives you a little bit of healing, so that's nice. What were we doing? Oh yeah, back to preset 1, right? You can see which one was. Okay, so maybe Hybrid Logic. Okay, Niche is not gonna win it from Hybrid Logic, I don't think, at this point anymore. Oh, and Noble Fire is another one. Do you have Noble Fire in your preset number 3?
No.
Um,
Lost damage. Oh.
so
Oopsies.
for if you're in parties, right? Again, harder bosses,
Yeah.
it goes up to 12% damage, so it would knock out some of the other ones. But there's quite a lot of survivability you can use. So I guess it'd be better than Wild Rage. It'd be better than Unfair Advantage. I mean, Wild Rage would be better, and Unfair Advantage is better. It could replace the Cygnus Blessing, but you have that stun. If you have enough crit rate, then it could replace Focus Spirit technically. But I don't know where your crit rate is at exactly.
I got like
This is-
113%.
Yeah. So you could switch out the Focus Spirit with we got 115 now. Yeah, you could switch out the Focus Spirit with the Adele one. And that give you, but that would be 2% damage if you're in a full party. So for like Black Mage, or if you're running C10 as like 6-man, then that would end up Noble Fire giving you a bit more damage. And then, but yeah, for preset 1, sadly, you only give yourself what is a 4% damage, so or 6%, right? Yeah, the base 4, an extra 2. So for summon, so it could be this one, but seeing what else is Oh well, the reason I didn't put it in yet is because it's like harder to sometimes tie to battle, but while you're bursting, you're not going to be moving. Then you're going to lose your stacks, and then the
And jump
link
out of
skills.
roar.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, you can up jump technically to create distance and stay in roar, but that
Okay.
doesn't seem like a very productive way of using your time.
Old school Nightwalker jump
Yeah,
attack.
basically. That's why they would use it actually, but yeah. So it'd be Noble Fire for 6% damage, or the Kali was 5% damage, so that would be lower, or it would be Xenon. What is it? 10% all stat, or if you like the knock resistance, maybe the Cygnus one, but I don't think you're gonna be doing any bosses where that would be necessary. So yeah, I guess the Double Fire would make it in there. Yeah, because you don't need the Phantom Watch or the extra crit, right?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think resistance links. Well, we were talking about that, and if you're building a preset specifically for just easy bosses and for min-maxing your damage on things like Culvert, the Spirit of Freedom this won't do anything for you. So that basically be a lost slot. So I specifically would use Spirit of Freedom only on the really harder bosses where you're going to be doing a more survivability type setup. And then you can make that as extreme as you want. I would start as extreme as you want with survivability, and then as you start doing the bosses and you start noticing that you don't really have any trouble surviving anymore, then you can slowly take things out like Close Call. That'll probably have the least effect, right? Probably maybe Invincible Belief, maybe Cygnus Blessing, right? Those can maybe slowly start weeding out for more damage ones. But as long as you've got your ID, right? You got the empirical knowledge. As long as you've got the terms and conditions, and then the base high percentage damage ones. Oh, I guess you don't have Solace in this one.
Yeah. Solus is weird. There it is.
Yeah, Solus stacked would be better than Noble Fire, but at this point I would be looking at so Close Call is a tough one to have in there. For Black Mage, it probably, because the way you're thinking about it, like, okay, 10% chance to save a life. So if you have only 5 lives, granted door, but then you only have like 50% chance that it even triggers one time if we're gonna die out, right? So that's not really good value. For Black Mage, you have 12 lives, so that seems better. But what's gonna happen in the beginning a lot is that you're gonna take curse deaths, which aren't actual deaths, which is something that Close Call cannot actually work on. Because you're just gonna lose a respawn counter without losing a life, without like dying.
Take curse deaths until just about P3. I
Yeah,
might
P3.
take 1 or 2 in part 2, but it's mainly in P3.
Yeah, the better you get, the more your deaths will actually be close callable. Yeah, so that's up to you. I guess like Solus, maybe you can write it down and think about it. Solus is one for preset 3 to consider getting in there. I guess technically a fully stacked Solus will be better than Noble Fire. So you could switch him now, take out Noble Fire and put in Solus, and then put Noble Fire on the back burner, because that'll be 12% and Solus is 16%. So that'll still like gain you 4%. You have the bonus damage on Unfair Advantage, so that will give more. But if you were to attack a boss that's like level 280, for example, then Unfair Advantage will only trigger its first part, right? Not its second part. So then, putting in like Noble Fire instead of Unfair Advantage would be a slight upgrade. But again, this is like single digit percentage damage min-maxing, right?
Gotcha.
But in general, just to have you, reconsider, because sometimes you set these things and then you kind of just leave them. And sometimes it's a good idea to like just go back to it and kind of reevaluate, like, why are they in there? Why do I even have this? Because sometimes you'll find something. I bet everyone who does this, who watches this, and just goes through their link skills, like, why the hell is this link skill in here? Like, this doesn't make any sense. Guaranteed, It's like going through your MapleStory folder and realizing that every single achievement and every single level up ever has taken an automatic screenshot, and you probably have 2 gigabytes worth of screenshots in that folder right now. There's going to be a non-zero number of people who checks right now and finds that as well. So isn't any gift only 5%? Yeah, but this is the survivability setup. But this is not the damage setup. We're trying to get as much survivability, and if you can get some damage on top of that, that's great, basically. Close call is great for achievement hunting. Yeah, you need to like be a boss that you can die 10 times and then die only 9 times and then close call the 10th death or something. That's an achievement, but good luck on that one.
Is it actually?
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
Oh god.
I mean, I guess with
Okay.
unlimited boss runs now, you could just like turbo into run and just keep doing it. But
Yeah.
you don't want to have to actually rely on that during a real boss fight, I guess. Okay, did we set these to your presets already? I don't think so, right?
I don't believe so. No.
Okay, so regular. So the bossing. This is what you call this one. So this would be 3, right?
It would. Well.
Because the other one is solo boss, right? So solo boss would be number 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 3, and then mobbing would be 2, I believe. Yeah. And then solo boss would be 1, and then solo box would also be 1, because it would be the same. And then party box would be 3 again.
Okay.
Okay, so now if you were to switch to presets, if you wanted to, with the hotkey, right? It will probably show you that you didn't. Oh, you actually have hyper body. That's cute.
All right.
It's a nice animation.
Space. I had space in here.
Yeah. What's probably gonna happen? I don't know if it's how soon it is, but what's probably gonna happen is everyone's probably gonna have to max every single boost node later. So we're probably just gonna have to put shitty skills in there. Is my fear for all the characters, but we'll see if they ever do that. Because we have 2 more mastery nodes, right? And they put so many skills in there. Are they gonna build masteries just for singular skills, or if they keep clustering them, there are gonna be more and more skills that nobody levels up that ends up in mastery nodes, and then you have to max them in order to be able to, or not near max them to be able to level up for the skills that are in there that are good. Maybe Venom Burst will be useful at some point, you know, something like that.
I'm hoping, but I'm not banking on it.
No, I mean Destiny update was like the update where they could have made it relevant because they were redoing all of the and then they just left it, and it's like, okay, well, I guess they don't care. All right. Okay, you feel good about that? You feel confident about the presets now? So if you want to switch them, you just hold down a button, pick whatever function you have, and then it'll just like show you whatever would be going on. And the name again is on top right before you switch over, so you can double check there. But yeah, it's basically that, and then you still have to switch to familiars if you have separate sets for mobbing and bossing. I guess speaking of familiars, how are they doing? Old Spider, hey, that's a while since we've seen one of those.
I've got this guy. I've got him on my Wild Hunter as well, and I think I have it on one more character, but I haven't been able to find anything. And I was hunting in Limina for a while. I don't know what my count was, but it
were you making epics, or what were you doing?
I was going for epics, yeah. Or was it? No, I was going for what?
Because I see one. Unique,
I was going for uniques. I was going for
epics.
uniques. I was going for uniques, but I couldn't get any boss or attack percent or IED at all.
Yeah.
I also have old snail.
Well, so yeah, if you're looking for just IED, like the 15% that comes from common and rare as well. So as long as you don't have any 15% IEDs, you can just reveal any card can have it. Oh yeah, you have those 2. Yeah, okay, gotcha. Or those 3, yeah. It's only if you're looking for like 20 or 30%, right, that you want to level up. The general advice for just going about familiars, because it is such a hassle, is to make as many epics as you can first to try to get the increase drop rate by a large amount line. On average, that's way cheaper to get through epics. And then, so it would be this one, but the just drop line, right? So this one is 60% each. Yeah, and a large drop would be 100. So it would be an additional 40% drop rate. Just because that gives you them more familiars to then make uniques to try to go for boss damage and big IED and the healing and all that. But also because extra drop rate, right? More chance for pitches, more chance for fragments, more chance for everything, right? So if you're ever going to do stuff with familiars, I don't know if that was a question somewhere, but I would always advise to make as many epics as you can, get large drop, and then you can go for uniques all you want and try to, sky's the limit. Try to YOLO every time. 40% chance to tier up. Yikes. Feel like 4 in a row. Goodbye 600 cards. Good times like that.
Hurts.
Yeah, things we do to get something. Yeah, I was around when the system came out, so I got my boss fems on my biggest character then, and then kind of just dipped. But having to redo that on another character from this point is not a good feel. Yeah.
No, it's hard and it hurts. And I
Mhm.
don't like doing it. I mean, I'll do it passively while I'm farming, but
Yeah.
if it's not happening while I'm farming, I'm not going back. I don't like
Mhm.
to,
Oh,
but
that's
I'm
fair.
very tempted now because I know it's gonna help me.
Yeah, and now you can get fragments plus familiar, so that immediately
Yeah.
adds a lot more value to your time. You're still
Oh,
also advancing
absolutely.
your 6th job, so
Yep.
that should rightfully at least give you a little bit of pause and like, maybe, you know, at
It
least a
does. It
little bit of
does.
consideration. Okay. So your actual full gear now, where's that at? Because I'm assuming that, whatever your goal is for building up your character in terms of progressing, equip-wise and upgrades and events and everything like that.
I think I'm doing okay. I do
Mm-hmm.
know that I need to upgrade my Arcane Umbra.
Mm-hmm.
I'm debating on whether or not I do take it to 20 or past 20, just because I know it's going to be stupid expensive.
Yep.
And I don't know. I guess I'm hoping that I get Eternal. I know I don't know. I feel like Eternals is so far away, but it's like the next thing. So why would I drop so much money on this if I was just going to end up replacing it?
Well, the question would be, is it reasonable to have enough damage with your philosophy of like how much more damage you want than is required for the boss to be able to get a fast kill, right? On bosses that will be dropping the gear that will eventually replace it. Because when you're talking about, we can have the hat, the top and the bottom, and the shoulder. Technically, you can get that through easy colors and easy culling runs as long as you have like, the patient of a saint and you wait eternity minus 1 year, then you could eventually just get those all to 22 very simply. Those bosses can be very simple to kill. Limbo seems like he's going to be quite a bit tougher, and he's level 285.
Yeah.
And you'll need him to get the last 3 items. So to really think of the arcane set as something that's so transient, we're probably going to approach the level where you wouldn't really consider getting arcanes to 22 anymore. Because again, the damage is not necessary for those other bosses, and you will start doing easy kalos and easy culling so early that some people will get lucky with Eternals early on and have less pressure on their account for that reason. But that's like 21 and 17 are still like a huge separation in terms of like necessary investment. If you add all of the stat and all of the attack from like 17 arcane to like 21, it's a huge difference. And it'll make all the other boss fights faster, which means more reliably you can go in smaller parties, which means per month, per year, you can have way more call for your drops. You can get more pitched. You can hit those more often, right? That damage helps you. So it all ties in together. Before that, though, so there's
So you
like
think
3
I
major
should,
things, right? Sorry?
Okay. So I was saying, so you do think I should upgrade them?
Well, if I'm looking at arcanes that are 17 and they're all 17, my thought isn't necessarily do I go for arcanes past 20 or not. My idea is how do I get these guys to 19? Like that's like the next thing that I would be working on. So trying to make sure you optimize your exposure to all the bosses that give you chances of boxes, save up boxes, and whenever 5, 10, 15 or Shining is available, look at what you have in terms of money and what you have in terms of backups and see if you can walk things up from 17 to 19 just 1 star at a time. That would be one thing if you're purely looking from the Star Force angle. But like you were already saying that your drop gear wasn't like completely set, that would be like top priority for me. We have MMT, not this Saturday, but next Saturday. If you need to get more things to Legendary, maybe, right, to fix up all the stats. So I would be saving up for that. Cube Sale, that's probably not until end of November, so there's no worry about that. You don't have to wait for that. So what I would be doing is seeing if I could make a list of like what would be in equip preset number 1 and number 3 to have all the drop rate and all the drop and meso combination that I would want. And then figure out, do I need to tier up a bunch of stuff? If you don't need to, then you can just start tapping that right now and basically spend the money as you go, like you were doing with your Honor EXP, right? Because the faster you get drop and mezzo ready, the faster you can start benefiting from more drops and from more money coming in faster. That'll, again, as long as there's no event for it anytime soon, then the faster the better for that. If there's still a few things you need to tier up, then I would just wait those and do those next Saturday, because they'll just save you 500 mil, tiering up per item. And then try to fix those by like next Saturday, and then start looking towards, what do I do more with star forcing? But the good part is you want to get backups first, so you'll need more time to get more backups anyway to make it less risky. But as soon as you have even one backup, you could start working on Arcanes to 18 and Arcanes to 19. 19 is a good spot because it's relatively low risk and it's a lot of gains. Even just 17 to 19, I think, is something like 30 attack per piece. So 4 pieces, it's something like 120 stat and 120 attack. Okay. That's just, it's just massive gains for reasonable budget. And then that goes back to like how much are you playing and your bossing and everything that we talked about, and like how much are you grinding to see if your weekly income can like support that realistically. If you make a fuck ton of money, you can just tap whenever you want, an off event, best event, and all that. But for most people, centering around 30% offs is already also not a good idea. I would do 30% offs if you make a lot of money and you can't spend all your money during one day on a 5, 10, 15. But I would center everything around 5, 10, 15s essentially. If you are there. So my maths are usually like, like CRA up to 19 probably by the time you get Arcanes at least, right? Arcanes up to 17, CRA to 21. Then usually I look for Arcanes towards 19. And then usually CRA to 22 before I Arcane to 21, something like that. That's kind of like where I can like put them in terms of cost versus risk. But again, if you get a lot of backups for Arcane, maybe a little bit earlier. If you don't get any backups, maybe a little bit later, right? Because CRA backups are straightforward, linear, basically. Arcane is, RNG. It's kind of linear, but you're going to have to pay for the linear ones. So those are not as desirable. So if you don't get lucky there, basically always just look at the inventory, see where you have backups, see where you have opportunities, and that's where your budget will want to go. That'll determine like what the next project is.
Gotcha.
So what's the other Star Force looking like?
22. Well, that doesn't count. 22, 22, 22, 21, 22. Oh, okay. This is also 17.
Mm-hmm.
17,
sense,
22, 22, 22, 22. Power.
Okay, very nice. So if I look at the Eclipse now, so that's the face is a Twilight mark, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so what I'm looking at is there's no slime ring, so slime set bonus, and you already know, but you already know why there's no slime ring. It's because you're not killing that in a small party, so you're splitting the drop up too much.
Yeah.
And the progress is just there, just not as fast as you would expect it to be at this point. They did nerf the slime a lot recently, and it is something we're thinking about. What's your total combat power like right now? Was it like 90 mil or something?
Fully with all my gear on, I think it's 112 or 114. Yeah, 114.
114. Okay. Yeah. And I would say that is definitely in the ballpark of being able to solo it, but it's a bitch. I would be reaching out. Personally, I think it would be a good idea to check like within your guild or alliance to see like if anyone wants to do like exchange carries. Everyone probably has like a hyper burn that they're trying to get a ring on, or something like that. And maybe you are, or maybe someone that you can take just for ring boxes, and then they can take you on another character or something like that. Because again, ring boxes now, especially if you're trying to get bossers, right, boss meals up to a certain level, if you can hit a ring early on, it's like guild skills. If you hit a ring box, if you get like an arcane drop, you get abso drops, and then either reinforced or superior Golic set, depending on how far you want to get them. And then I would say two 15% ID familiars. Those are like levels of funding that basically cost you nothing, that can get you so much free damage. You throw up like EXP nodes on top of that, and characters just kind of like fund themselves for no money. And then the only real funding you do is maybe like your WSE or something, right? You get like decent potential on that, and then everything else can just slowly work its way up with all of the free cubes that you get. You just slowly work everything up to epic or unique with like 9 to 12%, something like that, and those characters are going to be golden, right? So whatever kind of budget funding you can do like that is something to consider. When have you last tried to solo like Sea Slime?
I think it was almost a month and a half ago.
Because
I've made some gains since then, but
you make gains probably more than you think, right? You have event passive right now. You've got the event buff that you can pick up. If you add all of that up together, there is a good chance, and then having good strategy, right? So main thing for Sea Slime is that the test is every 3 minutes, which again, you're also a 3-minute burst, or
it's
arguably the best 3-minute burster. So that's a perfect strategy for you. And since your DPM is typically like hard to confirm anyway, and you don't have too much of that, it's a good idea that you're basically just focusing on getting your burst off 100% correctly. Make sure everything is prepped, right? And then get that first burst in. Just focus on closing a portal and just staying alive. Don't getting killed by some random shit. And then just make sure that you get like fully set up for the second burst. And then you're familiar with
so
like
I'm not supposed to die to the laser. That's right.
Yeah, try to avoid that
right
one.
Behind.
Yeah, yeah. The hits just the magical hitboxes,
right behind.
Or hits you when you're jumping over it, even though the whole beam never reaches you and is always under you. Yeah.
Okay.
You're familiar with like the groggy and the binding and the how that all works? Yeah.
Well, I get confused. Usually I thought that it comes when we first start the fight. I thought that it goes into groggy state, but I guess not.
Groggy is only when it's only when you complete one of the tests. That's when the boss kind of gets like immobilized. Groggy specifically also lets you do more damage, but I always see it very similarly as like doing the test in Hard Will, right? Even though there you don't get bonus damage, but he gets like self-bound a little bit, but so that you can wail on him, and you can use that time as much as you can until he gets out of it. I don't know if you've done some Kalos, right? Like it's the same as Kalos, but Kalos doesn't take any bonus damage. Wait, didn't? Oh, I thought you...
I have not done any Kalos, any Saren, any Kaling, none of them.
Okay, gotcha.
As soon as I noticed I couldn't do Black Mage, I was like, I'm not going to even try for the rest.
Honestly, Saren and Easy Kalos, like Hard Saren and Easy Kalos, mechanically are easier than Black Mage by quite a bit.
I don't know why. I'm being very stubborn. I don't want to learn another boss until I finally learned
the
one.
previous one. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then, are you doing Princess No and Akechi? Checkmate.
Oh my god, that doesn't count.
No, they're below. No, see, the system is flawed.
It doesn't count.
No, like Easy Kalos, honestly, if everyone has like a decent amount of damage, as long as you have the Sacred Power, Easy Kalos is not even really a boss, because what you can do is you can do enough damage to basically chunk his... What he does is like you do a test, he goes into Groggy, and then after that you can bind him, and then after that you can do the Origin Bind, and then you just chunk his HP like that. And if you have the people together, you just chunk through everything, and all you do is like a test, which is basically like a will test. And as long as you do that correctly, you just blow through the entire boss fight, and he doesn't really do anything. So it's not really a boss fight even. Jumping from that to normal Kalos is like a whole other story, but you can get started with that Easy Kalos, and I would say Hard Saren, like as a combo party. That's something that you can do if you've been playing regularly. You know, you have the Sacred Power before clearing Black Mage is reasonable. However, most people probably now are already starting to practice Black Mage, you know, by the time they get to like around 270 or even maybe a little bit before that, so that by the time they hit like 273, 274, they can start getting their first clear, just because it takes so long. You know, it's months and months.
Yeah, I stalled really hard. I was just really
common,
scared of it for the longest time, and now I'm regretting it, but it's okay. I mean,
I probably stalled longer than you ever did. Like, I think I probably hit the damage for the boss about 2 years before I started my first practice, and then I did practice for like a month, probably like a year and a half before, and then I did practice for like a month hardcore, back when you still needed like a key for every single entry and stuff. and then the party kind of dissolved because people were learning at different paces, and we had different schedules, so it was really hard to sync. And then I waited for another party to start, which was like 3 or 4 months after that, and I started practicing with those guys again, which also probably took like another month. And then I got my first clear with them. So the whole thing was probably like a year after the first people started liberating is when I actually started running. So I like waited forever as well. But now I'm at 3 libs, and I'm right now libbing like 8 more characters. Because like once you've got that first one done and you get the whole experience, now you can start doing like exchange carries, and with the 6 job now you can actually bind him, right? So that takes some pressure off, and it's a huge power creep in terms of how quickly you can get to the boss and how much damage you need. So do you have like scheduled practicing and everything? Like, is that going?
I do not have any scheduled practicing. I've been just joining regular parties here and just hoping that I can practice a little bit. And when they say that they're running a real run, I'm usually down if I see that it's gonna be a quicker run, because I don't want to get stuck in part 2.
Mm-hmm. So so did you already start your liberation?
No.
No clears yet, right? Yeah.
No clears. Yep. There was a time that we were close, but Man's G skills ran out after one of his friends died out, so he was like, well, I guess we'll do this later. And later never came.
Yeah, I talk about that quite a bit, where if you don't have kind of like a position within the party of some kind of authority, as in like you're bringing in multiple people, or you're doing the organizing, or you're bringing in a lot of damage, you kind of lose your seat at the table in negotiating on like what's going to happen, right? And it's hard to really swing your weight around to be like, oh yeah, we're gonna if this guy dies out, we're just re-rolling, or we're only gonna try twice, and if not, I'm just clearing, so you have to like kind of give in to what the people who have more say get to do. So it's tough though. But if you're playing as much as you are, I would definitely check around, if you have people in practice runs that you're like connecting with, like add them to your buddy list, reach out to do more practice runs. Try to be that person who like starts a run, so you can have a bit more of a holistic approach to like, what do we do with this party, and when are we gonna set up, like what weekend, make a little Discord, ping people. It's annoying though, like that first setup is difficult, but it's a lot different now than it used to be, because every single person in a Black Mage party is in a completely different situation. Back in my day, it was like everyone is just trying to get that, like 80 to 90 bill per second, like on the BA, and everyone's willing to like take hours out of their day just to practice and to get that first clear. No one has a clear yet, But now it's like, oh, this guy's on his 5th character, this guy's carrying and wants the badge. These 3 other people have no idea what they're doing, and this other person has done like 2 practices so far, and then like put those people together, and it's it's just so chaotic, right? Like, who do you tell how much patience do you need to have? So that is definitely tricky. But I would look into like for Hard Saren and Easy Kalos. You have what's your Sacred Power, right? It's over 200, right?
Yes. I think I'm 360.
Yeah,
380 now.
380, yeah. So you're totally fine on the probably already normal Kalos. Probably like C Kalos Sacred or something at this point. I would have to look up the exact numbers, but yeah, you're totally fine on Sacred Power.
The thing is though, at least with Black Mage specifically, I'm still technically scared of her or him or with them. Anyways, since I am still technically scared of it, I try to not do damage. I will usually try to join parties that don't need a damage dealer, just because I do tend to die out when I'm focusing on trying to attack.
Yeah.
So that's why I try to find parties that I know can do most of the damage, and I just can pop in every once in a while when I have all my burst up. But otherwise, I'm staying on the far left in Dark Sight, and I'm gonna just chill there, because I can't dodge those kicks. I can't, like, I just, there's only so much I can do without dying out. So it's just, I guess, harder to find parties that are willing to take somebody on that is gonna go ahead and take a backseat for most of it. even though they see my CP and they're like, "Oh no, we expect you to help."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. So that's where that like desync can come from, where it's up to you to decide whether you think that's something that you want to try to overcome and you want to functionally practice, not just. I mean, I think the first practice for BMs should be like, trying to survive and looking at the patterns, looking at the hitboxes, looking at the intervals, the timings, and everything, right? And then as you get that down more, then look at like where can you throw in a little bit of damage, where can you safely, low risk, add more damage, because we are getting to boss fights, and that can happen in Black Mage as well, where you can, even by playing it safe, you can actually be more dangerous. Like if you're doing Fihilla and you get better at Fihilla, you want to fight her in the middle, right? You don't want to fight her in the corner, because then the green and the purples, and you can get behind, you can get smacked, poison cloud, it can be chaotic there. Ideally, you all play in the middle, but then if one person like sits in a corner because it's safe, quote unquote, and she constantly teleports into the corner and then back and then in the corner again, you don't see the attacks coming, it actually makes the whole fight more chaotic and actually less safe. So
Yeah.
everyone has to be kind of on the same page. The thing with the Black Mages, especially in P3, what you want to practice is staying just right on top of him and just ducking the kicks and feeling like what is the interval between the kicks and how long. Excuse me, like when the animation of the kick starts, can you maybe like cheek in another attack? No, you can't. As soon as you see the animation, duck, right? How long is your animation? If you haven't seen him kick in a while, maybe you just hold attacks and pause, wait for him to do the kick, and then continue. That's something that you have to kind of like learn, that rhythm and what you can get away with and what you cannot get away with. And yeah, but yeah, it's going to be all about like finding a party that helps you, that creates that opportunity for you to make those mistakes over and over and over and over again. I can tell you how many times I got kicked before I kind of got it down. It's probably like 100 times or maybe even more. Because then when you think you get it, and then you get a little bit overzealous, and then suddenly you get like kicked around, and 5 lives are just gone in the blink of an eye. It's like, oh, I thought I had it, I didn't have it.
Yeah.
That's what that boss fight does. Yeah, but the boss fight is so much shorter now. You have the iframe. Finally have an iframe. Night Lords rejoice. You have you have the bind. If you use it at the right time, there is definitely some availability to confirm damage. Have you looked into the curring at all? Did you get that thing?
I have looked into it. I have not gotten it yet. It's been on the back burner.
Yeah,
I should
because
go ahead and buy it.
It's two good things. One is that it has the 10-second iframe if you build it up, right? And for a Night Lord, it's more important to, if you lose a little bit of damage, but you can at least confirm your damage, is way more important than how high the damage is exactly. And the second thing is, it's one of those few remaining quests that you have in the tab, so you'll have something else to cross off your list. It's the Stellar Detectives that you have in there. So
gotcha.
It's a double whammy for you, 2 birds, 1 stone kind of deal.
Okay.
So that's something to consider, especially if there's other boss, because there will be boss fights, especially for Kaling. It's really advisable to either have to use your origin in certain situations, like in P2, or to have some kind of invincibility. And people who are already liberated could just use that and then save their origin. And if you're forced to every time use your origin. Still for Night Lord, it's better now, but it still cuts into your burst, right? Because you're just like for 10 seconds, you're not really spread throwing, versus just being able to use curring there and then save the origin for the next phase if it's not necessary, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a good option to have.
Okay. I'll get on it.
It's advisable, I will say. Not necessary, but it is useful in one person sits in a corner, exemplification. Yeah, backup wise, I mean, all I can say is like do those weeklies, right? Save up those weeklies. But I would definitely get the drop rates stuff under control first. Make sure you have those sets kind of like lined up and you've got your presets now, so you can make sure that they're all in like the right set. As long as you put them in the right preset you already have, then your character preset will all stay the same, so you can just swap into them right away. And then I would look towards, if there are bosses where you're just not really sure if you could kill them faster, you haven't tried in a while, I would say just maybe give them a try and just see how well it goes, because you might be surprised at how much stronger you've gotten since last time. Large drop fam, would advise to try to chase that, because it will just give you the drop rate plus the drop rate fam, plus you got your inner ability, decent holy symbol, like you smack all that together. It just accelerates your opportunities through the game, right? Like the one person who doesn't have a 22 pitched is guaranteed the person who hasn't seen the pitch yet, right? That's the only way you can like guarantee that you don't have it, because everyone else at least has gotten an attempt. But if you don't have the drop rate to start with, it just takes away value of every single run after. And I think that's also going to demotivate wanting to do the party in smaller amounts and like soloing it, because it doesn't really feel like there's a pot of gold at the end of that rainbow there. It's because it's got to be like, I don't get the drop or I don't get the drop. So might as well do it faster run, right? But I think once you have all the drop rate lined up and you go like for your 426% when you can open a box. How much are you at now? Like when you open a box, do you know your drop rate percentage?
You think it's like 370 something, and then if I have a bishop, it's 380 something.
Okay, that's already pretty good.
Yeah, if I were to swap everything.
Because you have the two double drop ones. Wait, remember, you don't have to do this anymore. You have the presets now.
Right.
Preset solo box.
Back. I actually want to try this. Let's see. Switch back.
Yeah, it might be good to double check as well, see if everything is going well.
Solo box 4.
Well, I see your equip
So
changed,
it
your
actually just
HP, MP changed. So you got your drop rate in there. You see you have 225 now, so the FAMs is something you still have to pick out, so that'll go up to 285. Then coupon and WAP is an extra 70, so that'll be 335. 355. And then
HS.
Yeah, and then Holy Symbol, yeah, over that.
And then Showdown.
And Showdown on top of that, yeah.
So is this an additional 5% on top of the?
Yeah.
Where is it? So it's 10.
5, yeah. So it's an extra 10%. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but not every single box can be debuffed by that. The other reason, by the way, just like last thing, because I'm mentioning like Kalos and Saren, and it seems like out of order for you. The thing is that they drop white boxes, and you don't have your War 4 yet. And that's just, as a Night Lord, that's just
something
such
that
a
you need.
Huge damage increase with like 0 meso cost, that I think it is something worth looking into. Plus, there will be situations in Saren and not in Kalos as much, especially if you have enough damage, but in Saren that seem spookier than Black Mage. But sometimes dialing up the practice meter to an 11 will help when you go back to make other things easier. So my personal example was like Hard Lotus. I was struggling with that. We're talking like years and years ago. But I was struggling with Hard Lotus a lot because I just felt like I didn't have time to respond to things. Like I would just get kicked around. I would just die to stuff falling, right? Just all the time. And then I started practicing Black Mage and failed horribly at that. And I felt like I was not making any progress. But then when I went back to Hard Lotus, it felt like Hard Lotus just got so much easier. Like I had a year to respond to everything. So maybe you don't feel it directly in Black Mage if you practice a lot, but other stuff, like Darknell as well, is one of those good ones where hard Darknell can seem very, very hard, but then you start practicing like normal Kalos and trying to like cleanse machines with the NPC chat and aiming and shooting the ball at the right things at the right time to deactivate parts of the map and everything. And then you go back to hard Darknell, you're like, oh, all I have to do is just walk to the side to dodge these balls, like that's it. And suddenly...
it's the arrow. The arrow is what gets you.
It's, well, yeah, they will, but then you also start thinking way more in vertical mobility, right? Because in the beginning you just move horizontally, but as you get to these harder bosses, you have to move way more vertically as well. Up jump, use your blink way more. You have Dark Side, of course, as another like dimensional tool. But sometimes consider dialing it up to an 11 and being in there in that uncomfortability for a little bit, and it will make other bosses comparatively a lot easier or just more manageable. To like see through the matrix and everything, you know.
Okay.
All right. Well, we're about at the hour-and-a-half mark. Were there any things that we didn't mention at all, or any things that you were still wondering about on? Maybe things that you said like with your friends that you didn't know, things you were stubborn on.
Honestly, no. I don't think so.
Okay.
Oh, what should I do with this?
Do with that? Oh, so it's technically that's an old man cape. Yeah.
It's very, very old. I don't remember starring it, but I got it to 10. I just throw it away,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's not gonna do anything for me.
It's most likely not going to do, yeah. Personally, I
Yeah.
hold on to those things for like nostalgia, and if my inventory starts kind of like filling up, then I eventually get rid of it.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't see any value in it. Like you're not gonna star. The one
Oh
scenario where you
no.
would keep something is like, oh, I'm gonna try to star the arcane cape, maybe without backups, and then if it doesn't go, I'll still have something to fall back on. But you'll lose your
Gotcha.
set bonus, so it'll always be and you have a really good flame on the
Right.
arcane, so it'll be really tough to keep. Yeah. So I guess functionally you could NPC it, you could extract it. I don't know. It's probably a goner, yeah.
And last thing, what's this thing with the greed
Greed
pendant?
pendant? Mm-hmm.
Is it not a thing? Does it apply to boxes? Do the
Yeah, that's where the MapleStory opacity comes in. As far as we know, it just works as it's written. I have heard somewhere, like through the years, that if you data mine MapleStory, item equipment drop rate by itself doesn't exist in the code anywhere. So
Oh,
it
so
is possible. It is possible that it's just like a drop rate line that works up until drop rate cap and then doesn't work past that, but we don't know for sure. So what most people do is they just get one line of drop rate on this and use it in a box preset, just to make sure that equips have a slightly higher chance of dropping, because we don't care about any equips that drop while you're mobbing. And it doesn't give you any damage, so it's perfect for box opening drop rate essentially. Just in
Okay.
case it works.
gotcha. Yeah, then no, that's it.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, if anything
you.
pops up, I stream every day, so feel free to drop by and ask me anything. And if I gave any, if I said anything that completely contradicts what your friend have said, then you can send them my way, I guess, and we could discuss. But I'm pretty sure that it's generally in line with what they've been saying, right?
Yeah, for the most part, yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. Hopefully it was helpful for you. At least you have the presets done, so you got something practical out of it at least.
Absolutely. I
Maybe
appreciate
there's
it.
some link skill
I
stuff.
was never gonna touch it because it was so confusing. I just didn't want to mess with it.
Yeah, you don't want to. Yeah, as long as it's set up right. Like, if something does happen to it, you could double check, but it should be. We went through it. Should be all set up perfectly fine. So it'll just save you time every single time you want to switch. And what it does for me as well is if you're doing the weaker bosses, quote unquote, but it's still kind of like the slightly stronger ones of the weaker bosses, then it also is very easy to just switch back to damage gear, kill it just a little bit faster, and then switch it back again. Where in the past you would have just stayed in drop rate gear because it wouldn't be worth the hassle of switching. So it speeds up the whole process because of that as well, on top of just the time savior.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Well, I wish you best of luck. Hopefully you get all the drop rate stuff soon, and hopefully you get that Roar 4 soon. But yeah, expose yourself to more opportunities. Hopefully Saren and Carlos can help you get that Roar 4. They'll definitely help with their your damage output. And yeah, who knows? Maybe I'll see you around.
Sir, I appreciate it. Stay
All right.
safe.
Yes, you too. Have a good one.
You as well. Bye.
Bye. Okay, now I don't know what happens when the stream ends. I guess we just leave it up there. There we go. MapleStory music. Wow, look at that. All right. So, little different setup because we didn't have a album, so we went through the live stream for the Discord instead. But if you guys have any questions based on the session, then let me know. I stream live every day over at twitch.tv/Scarter, so you can always find me there, or leave a comment on the video. Hopefully, if you were in a similar situation, there are some useful tips or useful advice for you to build upon so that you can save time, save money, have a more specific goal, anything like that. If we didn't go, because we have a different setup, we didn't really use directly on screen any of the specific commands that I have over in the chat. But if you need any help, you need information on any specific topic, you can always use the commands in my Twitch chat. They're available to everyone, even when I'm offline. You can check !help for the full list. It's about 300 commands with a whole bunch of information that will, be slightly informational to completely explain every single detail about a topic. And then if you have follow-up questions, you can always drop by the stream or hit me up on Discord, YouTube, wherever, and I'll do my best to help you out. So with all of that being said, hopefully it was useful to you. Hopefully you had a decent time and it was at least a little bit entertaining. And if you have additional questions, you know where to find me. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.